This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with a throwback because back in 1992, June 2nd, 1992, I was in grade 4 and I was attending a WWE Wrestling Challenge taping at the Ottawa Civic Center. It was one of only 2 WWE tapings that came to my hometown of Ottawa, Ontario during my childhood. The other one was the previous year, September 9th, 1991, the same arena, Ottawa Civic Center. That was when Ric Flair had his debut and famous confrontation with Roddy Piper, which I would say is probably the most historic WWE angle to ever take place in Ottawa. And it's the only time I can ever remember Piper wrestling for WWE in Ottawa. So I was really excited about this event. I was one of the few fans that were liked Shawn Michaels the best during this era. I was a massive Shawn Michaels fan. I was like a heel in school. I would act like Shawn Michaels. This was around the time Sherry had him as a manager. And coincidentally, when they did the angle, Shawn Michaels has left the building, I was one of the kids on the video. So if by some chance there's ever a documentary on me and someone wants to look up one of the times I appeared for WWE when they announced Shawn Michaels has left the building in this taping, the cameraman told us to boo. It was in between one of the matches. He gathered a bunch of us together that were near the front. I was in 4th row by the aisle for this. Told us to boo. Shawn Michaels wrestled Bret Hart on this card. Coincidentally enough, in a match that was unadvertised. The big advertisements for this were Ric Flair and the Ultimate Warrior. This was one of the best cards ever to come to Ottawa. And the biggest card I can remember attendance-wise in the Civic Center that I had been to other than the previous year, 91, Hulk Hogan wrestled Earthquake in a stretcher match. And the place was more packed for Hogan against Earthquake. So I don't know if they give big Hulk Hogan matches in the times before they bring tapings, because then they followed that up with 2 tapings within the span of a year. And then they never came back again for a taping until 2001. They would come to Ottawa, and as business got worse with Bret as champion, they started going to the smaller arena across the border in Hull, Quebec. But they didn't do another taping until October of 2001, a Raw taping in the arena where the Senators play now. This is the arena where the Senators used to play. I ended up wrestling in this arena in 2007, the famous match where Abdullah the Butcher hit me with a coffee pot before 4,000 fans. So let's get into this card. The first thing that happened that was historic, there's a lot of matches, so I'll just touch on them. They advertised this, by the way, as a 40-man battle royal. They called it the first ever 40-man battle royal was going to happen. Ric Flair was on the poster, the Ultimate Warrior. Those were the main things. And I think tickets for kids were like $14. So here's the interesting thing. In a dark match, Razor Ramon defeated Jim Brunzell. So Jim Brunzell, I guess, was basically enhancement talent this time. He had a dark match against Razor Ramon. Now, this was before any of the vignettes played, and I was always a big WCW fan. And I think I was the only one in the crowd marking out that the Diamond Stud from WCW was there. It's like no one else knew who he was. He was doing the Razor Ramon gimmick, but the last I had seen him, he was a Diamond Stud in WCW. So I didn't understand what a dark match was back then. It was before the internet. One thing they did advertise for this that it was supposed to be the return of Piper's Pit. They advertised this in the weekly write-up that Piper's Pit was supposed to be returning. In the end, they only had Mean Gene interview segments, one of which the Warrior had that ooze from Papa Shango come down. But I remember being really disappointed there was no Piper's Pit. Barry Hardy defeated Dwayne Gill. Don't remember that one. 40-man battle royal, which the Berserker won. So that is pretty. I remember the Berserker won that, and he also wrestled the Undertaker, and the Undertaker beat the Berserker. The Ultimate Warrior beat Papa Shango. I was a big Ultimate Warrior fan. I still am. To me, that was a good match. I was a big Papa Shango fan too, and I remember like the big thing as a kid was the thing that fans miss now with the house shows, with the no house shows and the less house shows, is you don't get to interact. And I remember I got both my hands on Papa Shango at one point. As you can see, they're all, I don't know, messed up from all my working out, but I like got both my hands on Papa Shango at one point. A guy I went on an interview, and I just remember feeling how huge he was. As a kid in grade 4, it was part of what made me want to be a wrestler. Like just being like, oh my God, this guy is massive. Tatanka defeated Rick Martel. I never liked Tatanka. Smelliest guy I ever wrestled in the ring with. Intercontinental title match, Bret Hart defeated Shawn Michaels. This was a hell of a card, guys. Looking back on it, hell of a card. Randy Savage defeated Ric Flair by disqualification. Here, and I would like to see this. I would really like to see this match. And I don't know if it ever aired on tape. But the interesting thing that happened during this match, Mr. Perfect kept cheating. There was a lot of heat in this match. Tons of heat. At one point, a fan jumps the barricade and starts punching Mr. Perfect. And I remember there was a big thing in the crowd, and a lot of people. This was the days where people talk. I was just doing a podcast where you never hear people talking about wrestling at the gym anymore. I mean, in these days, everyone talked about it the next day. And I remember all the talk was, that must have been a wrestler. And I'm like, there's no way that was a wrestler. Because it was like a skinny guy in a shirt, brave to attack Mr. Perfect. There was also a fight. The crowd was crazy that night. There was also a fight in the audience that night. It's a rowdy crowd. But yeah, the guy that attacked Mr. Perfect actually got shots in on Mr. Perfect. So if anyone from WWE Vault seeing this, look that up. That would be an interesting match to see due to that interference where the guy literally got blows on Mr. Perfect. And again, I'm the one saying that was no wrestler. I remember everyone was saying, no, there's no way that was a guy from the crowd. Well, we never heard anything more about that. So I'm still marking out for to this day. This was the days where wrestlers wrestled multiple times a night. Rick Martel defeated Jay Sledge. Virgil defeated Joe Milano. The Nasty Boys. Brian Knobbs, famous for loving to say the N-word, and Jerry Saggs defeated Jason Speed and Jay Blade. Jason Speed did an interview on this channel. Boring guy. Sergeant Slaughter defeated Kerry Davis. The Texas Tornado defeated Barry Horowitz. I remember seeing Texas Tornado on a lot of house shows in this era. Kamala defeated J.A. Gooden. The other thing was Kamala was replacing Sid. I remember Kamala had Harvey Whippleman, and everyone was disappointed that Kamala. I mean, everyone loves Kamala, but it was supposed to be Sid. He was advertised as being there. So I remember people being disappointed that it was Kamala rather than The Undertaker. Undertaker defeated Bob Knight, Kamala rather than Sid. Tatanka beat Glenn Ruth. Money Inc. defeated Renee Figueroa and Phil Apollo. Shawn Michaels defeated Jason Speed. The British Bulldog defeated the Brooklyn Brawler. Ric Flair defeated Jason Knight. That one is on TV or on YouTube. Beverly Brothers with Lanny Poffo. One thing I remember about this is I'd seen the Beverly Brothers a bunch of times, but Lanny Poffo was never at the house shows. So Lanny was at this, and they were starting to do their Legion of Sissies gimmick when they were calling LOD Legion of Sissies. Defeated Nick Danger and Tony Ulysses. El Matador, Tito Santana, father of Jenny Santana, defeated Joe Milano. Rick Martel, wrestling again, defeated Scott Colatonio. Crush defeated Glenn Ruth. It's interesting. All these jobber matches, they must have had 1 minute or 1 minute and 30-second time limits because they seem to all be pretty much 1 minute and 30 seconds. Dublin Destroyer lost to Bret Hart in 2 minutes. He got 2 minutes. Bret Hart gave him something. I've interviewed Dublin Destroyer, good guy. Funny enough, the previous show in Ottawa, he told me he got hurt by the Doomsday device. High Energy, Coco Beware, who right now has charged for groping a ring boy in a civil lawsuit. And Owen Hart defeated Kerry Davis and Joe McMullen. So again, this may have been a meaningless show to some of you guys that watch this, but I guarantee you, anyone that was there with me in Ottawa that night, this was one of the few tapings we got. And again, wrestling did not come back in a TV taping until like almost 10 years later, in October 2001. So this was the biggest show we got. For whatever reason, they blessed us. And I'll remember that one forever. One of my favorite events I ever attended. And again, I like the Berserker. It's been an honor to become friends with him later on in life. He's a nice guy. And the Warrior definitely stands out. I remember when he ran around, he gave his fist. And I remember touching his... I think that was the only time I was actually on the floor for the Warrior. Because believe it or not, guys, I know they like to change history, but it was very hard to get a ringside seat when the Warrior was on the card. Please give this video